All right. Welcome, everyone, to our conversation today about rewilding. I'm here with my friend Dawn Wesolek, and she is zooming in from UK. And we found ourselves in the same course called Rewilding. And it was a beautiful 6-month course led by Rohini Ross. And we literally got to know people 34 people, 34 amazing people from around the world that just touched our hearts so much. And it was an opportunity for us to learn and grow deeper in this understanding that we've known as the three principles. And so a little bit about me, and then I'll have you, Dawn, introduce a brief introduction about yourself. And then we're just going to open the conversation to see where it leads. So this is a conversation, and I invite our listeners to maybe get a cup of tea and just sit back and enjoy. And our intention is to see perhaps that you will hear a nugget of something that you'll be curious about, that you want to know more about, because surely in 35 minutes, we won't be able to share everything about the three principles, or from now we'll call it the understanding. So my background, I am part of the LightPath organization here, LightPath Educational Center here in Bend, Oregon. And it's an organization dedicated to the advancement of human consciousness. So how perfect to have a conversation, right, Dawn, about consciousness and what we have seen from these three principles. So by trade, I've been an educator most of my life in the university system. I worked for Michigan State University in extension with children, youth, and families for about 21 years. And then also with University of Nevada in Reno as an assistant professor in children, youth, and families, along with all kinds of other community development kinds of programs. So our attention today, as I said, is to hopefully share a little bit of this understanding that's been so pivotal in our lives, and one of our favorite topics to talk about, right, Dawn? So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dawn, and share a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. First of all, Joy, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and yeah, to speak to your audience. I really appreciate it. I love the fact that we get to talk about this. I always say one of the best things about being in this understanding or speaking to people who are looking in the same direction, which is really the direction of consciousness by any other name, it's exactly the same thing, is that we have lots of deep conversations and they go in lots of different fun ways. It can be anything from laughter to sadness to yeah, difficulty to joy, to just like with you, to just being. And I think that's really where I'll start. So my background is I'm 46, and I've spent probably at least the last 30 years of my life, maybe more, searching, maybe more, probably I would say 31, 32 years since my mother died. And I know it's kind of like, oh, a traumatic event, but really kind of, I always kind of thought to myself that there was something outside of myself that would tell me what to do, that would give me my purpose in life. And it's so interesting because I just finished watching the movie Soul today. And in a plug for Disney, amazing, in that movie, at the very end, we find out that a soul's purpose is just to be. And that was just it, It was like, oh my gosh, a movie that kind of points in the direction of what I've learned for the last, so since really 2019 when I came into this understanding, but I guess what I've always really known. I just got lost along the way. And so, yeah, I mean, grew up in the United States, moved to England in 1996, lost my mother, well before that in 1990 from breast cancer. Spent a lot of time searching and searched in lots of very interesting ways. Searched in the bottom of bottles, searched in relationships, searched in overeating, searched in wanting to become a priest. That was my most favorite one. Searched in serial relationships, searched in different spiritual traditions and understandings, searched in the arms of people who were not appropriate, searched in education, searched in achievement, searched in techniques and meditation and festivals and hallucinogenics and lots of very interesting ways of searching. But it wasn't until I was pointed in the direction that there was no there. Yeah, there's no there. You're not going to get there. You're not going to reach this by doing these techniques, until I kind of realized that actually the quiet, the purpose, the being has always been inside. Always been inside. It's always been inside of me and inside of each moment. And all of us, that's the thing. It's like now I see it inside of me. I'm like, wow, it's inside of him and her and them and they and it. And I giggle at myself because I get caught up, Joy, right? Over the last couple of months, actually, since we finished our course, which you're going to laugh at, right? I have been looking for my purpose, looking for something to make me feel better again. I reach that space of kind of, this is the thing about reaching kind of those beautiful spiritual planes, is you get to a point, but then you fall off the plate again because we're human. We're human beings having a spiritual experience. Or spiritual beings having a human one, which is the way that Sid Banks flipped it around the other way. And I find it hilarious because it's like,
that's so beautiful.
Wow. Anyway, so I'll stop at that. I mean, there's so many stories in between, but I think I could just tell you, I just searched a lot.
Yeah, I can so relate. And I think, I've been a big fan of the self-help movement, and I too was doing all kinds of searching. And I thought, well, if I just read enough books, if I just went to enough workshops, if I just learned enough techniques, I would understand how this life works. I would be enlightened, right? Looking for something outside of myself. And that's what I think I heard from what you just shared, Dawn, is that you realize that it's not out there, that we have everything we need within. And we need to probably share a little bit about Sid Banks as to what he saw. And I think it's so perfect because this whole understanding was not something he discovered, but it was something that was shared to him, and it was an enlightenment experience. Here's this ordinary guy, Sid Banks, ninth grade education, was from Scotland, moved to Salt Spring Island, Canada, and had an experience. And he saw something so deeply at a workshop. His wife and he attended, and prompting from his wife, she wanted him to maybe see something. And halfway through the workshop, Sid is on break and talking with some other people and sharing that he didn't think he was going to finish the workshop. And a friend who happened to be a psychologist there said, well, what's up, Sid? What's going on? And he says, Sid shared that he was feeling really insecure. And this gentleman said, Sid, you're not insecure, you just think you are. And he heard that at such a deep level. It just shifted so many things. I don't think they completed the workshop. They went back home, and then he had a couple of what they call epiphanies that really revealed to him how this life works. And people from all over the world flocked to hear him speak. And I think it's so perfect that it came to an ordinary guy, not wrapped up in education and certificates and so-called training and that kind of thing. I just think that was so perfect, divine intervention, if you will. But so he talked about what we now know as the three principles. And originally it was called Psychology and Mind. And when I came to this understanding way back when, it was called Health Realization. And I do really like that term because I really think it's something that people see and they have a realization, and it impacts everything: their health, their way of being, their relationships, what they see, and and how they live their life. So I thought maybe we would spend a little bit of time just talking about the three principles and then move on to what we're seeing currently with this understanding. So you want to help us understand?
I can help you understand as far as I know. Okay, so this is the wonderful thing about kind of this that we call it this understanding or even consciousness. I think one of the ideas of this, and that is one of the three principles. So you've got mind, which I refer to as the connectivity between all things, and some people call that God, some people call that universe, some people call it the quantum plane. Some people just have this underlying knowing within them that we're not alone in this world, and there's something that connects all of us. And I used to have a really hard time articulating that, but that's actually how I came into the understanding. And I'll explain kind of that another time. That's not as important as the articulating the words, but it's like I've always known that I wasn't alone. I've always known, these serendipitous moments when someone gives you a call, or right when to pull off the road where you're about to get into a car accident, or you see a child smile and you see eyes that look a lot like a mom who's died a long time ago, or you have these moments where it was your mom's favorite tree or her favorite flower and you see it at the right side of the road right when you need to. And some people call it coincidence or whatever. For me, I call it that beautiful connection and that awe and knowing that we're not alone. So the concept of mind, as articulated by Sydney Banks, is slightly more complicated than the way that I see it. But the way that I see it is the interconnectivity between all things, both in form and formless. And that says both what we can see and what we can't. That has always been here and will always be here. And points at the inner safety, because that is us. And I think I come from a theological background. So I come from, Christocentric religion. And for me, God was always this force outside of myself that was giving me rules. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, I figured out that everything that Jesus had been pointing to in the scriptures, the fact that you have God within you, which of course I skipped over, right? I didn't understand that, but now I do. I do. It's like, so we're all part of that same God essence. And so kind of that's the first one, and that's the one that impacted me the most. The other two I'm still learning. Some of them are quite fun, and I can talk about those once I hear about what you've seen, Joy.
Oh yeah, so universal mind. I learned it as like a metaphor, and this might be dating me a little bit back to days of film strip, or you could substitute video or DVDs. But when you plug that projector into the outlet, that's the energy, that's the source, universal energy. It's in us, it's in everything, it's the formlessness. And it's always at work. Like you said, the universe always has our back. We're not doing this life thing alone. And I believe it's like, when you search for somebody's name or something that you're trying to remember, the more you try, the more it doesn't come. And the minute you let go, it's like, boom, there's the name. That's the energy that we are connected to. And it's a beautiful energy. And so back to the metaphor. So we plug in the plug into the outlet. And so that's our source of energy. And then we get to actually turning on the projector. And so that brings light to the screen, that the consciousness is that we're aware, that we're alert and alive. And the film strip or the video is whatever our thoughts are at the time. And the ability of that projector or that light to project out into our experience is letting us know where we are with our thinking. And so those three cannot operate by themselves. they work together, and people get real hung up about, now, what are the principles? And it's really what we want to point to is this beautiful understanding called innate health and wisdom that we've had from day one, except nobody really knew about it or shared. Kind of like the owner's manual of how life works. And so that's a little bit about what I'm seeing. Maybe you can share a little bit more about consciousness and thought. And
I tend to use stories because I think that's the best way to illustrate like what consciousness is for me, and really levels of consciousness. And I kind of articulate it like this, which is, you know, I think that the impact of mood on consciousness or levels of what we see is quite the best way to explain it. So recently I've had a very visual example of this in my life with my daughter Zia. I use her for examples a lot. So essentially, every Monday morning for as long as she's been going to school, we had the same interaction with each other, where what would happen is she would be sitting watching TV or doing something and running a little late, and I would be in a hurry to get out, and we would always have a fight in the same place over the same things every single day. Oh my God, probably typical parents. Your listeners will understand this. Oh my God, we got to get out of the house on time. Me screaming, her crying, me thinking, okay, I've achieved something, and us leaving with both being in a really bad mood. So I always say that's like elevator level 1 of consciousness. Okay. And so that's kind of like, I can't see anything but the behavior that's happening, that's affecting me, that's making me think she's doing something to me. And then lo and behold, because I've got this innate resilience with me, this innate health, this innate knowing that I'm part of everything, one day, just a little crack in the level, someone pushed the second elevator button for me, another way of saying that, and I was up at a tiny different level of consciousness. I was a little calmer, I was a little less speed up. And I looked at her face, and on her little face, she looked really sad. And I said to her, I said, Z, I said, do you think that maybe the reason why you go so fast and thus slow in the morning is because you're sad and you don't want to leave me on a Monday? And I go so fast in the mornings because I'm anxious about going to work and I really don't understand what you're going through. She said, yes, Mommy, that's exactly the same thing, but I didn't know how to tell you that I was sad. And it's like that little next level of consciousness, that little slowing down, that little seeing something slightly different from being in a different space. That's like what you said about the film projector, right? You have the film in and you're seeing the screen, and lo and behold, they take the blue filter off, and or they change the music and the score, and something that's usually quite scary, someone running through the house in high heels away from a monster, they put some comedic music in and you think it's funny. It becomes like a Benny Hill film rather than a horror movie. And that's what happened. So that's like elevator level 2 for me of consciousness. Elevator level 3 is where we're able to have the same routine but laugh at each other and see each other in a way that says, oh yeah, we're doing it again. Elevator level 4 will be, the fight doesn't happen anymore because we see each other and we're slowed down enough to acknowledge each other's pattern. And who knows what beyond that, because I haven't figured it out. It's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, really, with that one. And that's kind of how I see consciousness. It's like a shift in the way that you see things so profound that you just don't go back to doing the same thing on a Monday that you did the last time, because you can see something different. And it's like that was my like levels of consciousness idea is and I didn't have to do anything, by the way, Joy, to get there. I just was like, oh, and I said I was ready. I was ready to slow down enough and see something different, to push the next elevator button and go, she's not doing this to me. Something's going on. And that's what you're saying with thought. And so I'd love you to talk a little bit about how you see thought, because that's the next one. That's my favorite one at the moment. That's brilliant. I'm watching it so much. Still happening, but I'm watching it.
yeah, that's where we tend to hang out a little bit, hey, as people understanding this understanding. And that one of my favorite things is don't believe everything you think. Because
Mm.
as parents, you can relate that I think we're natural warriors, and we can go
Mm.
down what I call the rabbit hole, is making up things that aren't true, and then in believing it. And then our
Mm.
stress level goes up and we panic and can't sleep. And so really understanding how we're creating our life moment by moment by our experience, and that it's not happening to us, but it's our reflection, or it's our thinking. And that's part of the illusion, that we think that somebody is really making us mad or angry or late for work. And I loved how you said that, you kind of slowed down and you were willing to maybe look at it differently, to be
Mm.
curious and to see, the understanding of your daughter behind her behavior. And so then that just really opened up the door for greater understanding. And so
Mm.
you kind of shifted that. And so Monday mornings aren't a big hassle anymore, right?
Mm.
That's beautiful. I'd like to share a little bit. We came together signing up for this course called Rewilding, and now I believe you're actually on the team of the
Mhm.
Rewilding team to help promote this in different ways. And so I love the metaphor that Rohini saw about rewilding, and it had to do with reintroducing the wolves into our first national park, Yellowstone, and what an impact it had on the park itself. And so I think the metaphor is coming back to our true nature. And if we each come back to our true nature, then there's a ripple effect out there that we have many times no idea how we're impacting. Even now, as we have this conversation, maybe somebody's hearing something, so it's the ripple effect of our rewilding, that they might be hearing something that has been so pivotal in our lives. And I wondered if you could speak to what that whole rewilding experience was for you.
Completely different than I expected. Okay, so I went into the rewilding experience because Rohini is an expert in relationships, and I was in a relationship that I thought I was going to rewild. Right, I was going to make it work. It was going to be this one that was going to fix it. And so when I went in and I was pointed in the direction of my true nature, not his, then I was pointed in the direction of being who I am meant to be. And one of the things that I love about it is like just this idea that all of it is accepted. And that goes back to something we said at the very beginning of the conversation. I've spent my entire life doing self help because I thought that I wasn't enough. So the idea that actually the girl that used to lie on, picnic benches staring up at the sky or climbing trees or shouting as loud as she could because she didn't care, that girl was okay. That's what rewilding kind of got me back in touch with. So I did something called the 29-day experience with the rewilding community, which was a beautiful 29-day immersive course that was given out as a gift for free. And then as a result of that, I then came into the community, which was formed as a direct result afterwards of that. And then after that, I don't even know how I stumbled into doing the guide training, but I did. And then after that, Rohini asked me to kind of help her, talk about this experience to other people. And that's where I am today.
Beautiful.
But the interesting thing about that whole rewilding is, again, when I think about it, the words that come up within me is there's no there, Dawn. There is no there to get to. And recently I've been rewilding my relationship with dating as a newly single. Well, not newly, it's been 7 months. I was in the training when I let go of my relationship. It was like month one, I was a disaster area. But it's like now I'm like going into these experiences and going, if said person doesn't call me, it's not their behavior. It's my thinking, repetitive thinking and behavior around those, oh my God, I'm not enough. I've got, too much resting on how someone else reacts and my, washing machine head. And so what I'm able to see is, my true nature isn't insecure. Yeah. Like Sid said, it isn't, it isn't upset. It isn't angry. Those are all capable emotions I can have as a result of thinking about something. But when I step into that peaceful moment between all of those things, the tears, the joy, the anger, everything that comes up in those present moments, that is the wildness that is me. That is, I'm on a farm right now for work, and just watching nature and seeing the seasons, and that now we've got bees in the blossom outside on the apple trees, and the chickens are pursuing each other for romantic intent, and the wind is blowing in the trees outside, and I'm not so self-obsessed that I can't see that now. I'm not so like sitting, either sitting in here going, what can I do to change myself, or looking outside and going, that person, that thing is going to change me. When I'm able to kind of just go, oh, it's been there all the time, and it's wild and it's free and it's in all of us. And I think that's why the metaphor that we use in the rewilding community is so beautiful, because it's in those moments when your breath catches and you know that when you see that bee or that sunset, that's in you. You're bringing that alive with your own mind. You're pausing. Yes, it's always been there, but the aliveness I feel when I see those things, that's my true nature.
That's
That's what
beautiful.
I see today.
Yeah. And what you're pointing to is, as we tend to do, we get caught up in our personal thinking oftentimes, and we miss this moment, right? Because we're trying to figure something out, or we're really gripped by our personal thinking. And that's the first sign that tells us that maybe we're off track. And instead of, fighting or resisting or trying to fix ourselves, it's just honoring the feelings that move through us and know that, we're going to come out on the other side. We're going to be okay. But I think that's really interesting because I think through this understanding, I've more or less really created some time and space to look within as far as what's next for me, instead of maybe intellectualizing and trying to figure something out. And so I love that what you pointed to is that you're just really enjoying being instead of doing. And that's another one of my sayings, or favorite sayings, that we're human beings, not human doings. And I think getting caught up, as we both have, in the self-help culture, there was really that underlying message that there was something broken, there was something to fix. And so one book led to another, right? Not realizing that we have this beautiful gift within us, our own innate health and wisdom, that by just creating some space and time and being able to go within and realizing that we create our life from the inside out, and that we're at choice on any kind of circumstances as to if they're going to impact us or not. So many people, and a little bit about impact, is what they gain from hearing a conversation like this or others is, and what Sid would say is, look for a feeling. Don't look to intellectualize this. Look for a feeling. And just know that we have this divinely guided mind, thought, and consciousness, and the universe really truly does have our back. So I think we've described a little bit about rewilding, and rewilding is about coming back to our true nature, the gifts that we were, born with. And as you see with little kids, they're just full of joy and laughter. And if there is an upset, they're over it in, 10 seconds flat, right? They don't carry it around for years. And so we can learn from the children for sure. So with our time just about at a close here, Dawn, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with that you hope that maybe they heard or that they might be curious about?
I think what came up for me is a metaphor that I love, which is it's like this immune system idea. It's very scientific, but like, you know, when you have a cut on your arm, yeah, you bandage it or maybe you put cream on it and you leave it alone and it heals, right? Usually, unless you've got some more complicated issue, but normally it heals. Yeah. Why would we not have the same thing for our own psychological and spiritual immune system too? Yeah. And it's like, oh, you mean if I leave those thoughts away alone, if I notice I'm in a bad mood, noticing is the first step. Oh, I've noticed I have a cut on my arm. I need to put a bandage on it. Oh, I've noticed I'm in a bad mood and I want to fix my partner, or I want to do a geographical, or I want to get another degree, or I want to do this, this, and this. It doesn't feel very nice. And it really is, like you said, it's in the feeling. It's like, and then knowing that that feeling is like the cut on the arm, but knowing that if you leave it alone and you treat it with love and respect, it will heal because we're like a divine organism that just like everything else, you know, it heals. And just to tell everybody, you don't have to do anything to have that happen. It's already there. It's just seeing it.
And knowing, yeah, knowing that the answers are really within. So if someone would like to know more about rewilding, how would they find you or know how to look?
Absolutely. Well, I'm available. I'm available on the internet. My full name is Dawn Wesolek, Wesolek. I'll give Joy my details so that she can put them up on the site. And I'm also, if they want to know more about the Rewilding community, which is the community run by Rohini Ross, you know, you just type in your web browser, rewildingyourrelationship.com. And that then will bring you to Rohini's website. That's rewildingyourrelationship.com. And then you can learn more about the rewilding community, which I'm obviously a big part of. So both are beautiful, you know, resources and also Joy yourself as well. So, you know, do reach out if you want to have a conversation or, you know, we'd love to see you in the community as well.
Yeah. So as what you were saying, Dawn, we're both rewilding guides. And so it's a little different take on coaching because we want to just set up some listening sessions and hear what, what is up for you and what you're noticing and what you're seeing. And basically we guide people towards their innate health and wisdom. It's just such a beautiful understanding, and so loved our conversation today, Dawn. There's another site that I've been aware of. It's called Three Principles Global Community. They have webinars all the time and just tons of things, webinars, talks on YouTube. You just type in Three Principles and you'll find just an array of beautiful talks with people on this topic. So thanks again, Dawn, for your time. I know it's late there in the UK. Enjoy your vacation. And I would love to have further conversations with you and share with other people about this
Anytime, Joy. I
understanding.
love it. I see, and every conversation is different, but it's always just as rich because
Yes.
we just drop into this beautiful place of presence, and it's
Yes.
available for everybody.
Yes. And thank you for those people at home that are listening to us. We hope that you got a nugget of insight about this amazing understanding brought to life by Sydney Banks. So with that, we'll sign off and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.